Good afternoon, everyone. Today we have Miss Crystal Lindsay, and she's going to be speaking to us in regards to what it's like to be a marketing director, what has her career path gone through, what education she's acquired, as well as any other certifications needed. She'll also be talking to us about her highs and her lows within her role and how has COVID-19 impacted her. I ask that you all please mute your lines, and if you have any questions or concerns, please address them in the chat box. Thank you again, Crystal.
Thank you, Raquel. I want to start off by saying thank you for having me here. I have done my best to keep this interesting and fun, so you're going to learn a lot and have a darn good time in the process. So with that, I do want to share my screen. Raquel, can you allow the screen share?
Yes, ma'am, you should have that capability.
It says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
One moment.
All right, thank you. So while she's setting this up, I just want to again say thank you for having me here. I have had quite the interesting road to get to where I am. I am the digital marketing lead at the Victoria Advocate. I do work with people who are selling print ads, as well as help people who are not advertising with the Victoria Advocate to create really comprehensive campaigns that help them grow their business. So in a nutshell, digital marketing means how do you help somebody grow their business in this era, right? Especially with, thank you, especially with everything going on with COVID right now. Looking at digital marketing can be a really exciting field because there's so much going on and so much being affected by COVID, and yet so little being affected by COVID. So let me kind of put that in perspective by just saying I am at home in my beautiful home office here, and I have been fully employed through all of this with COVID. And so that's something that I am very fortunate to say has been the reality for me. My husband is also an e-commerce marketer, meaning he helps grow businesses using marketing online, and he's been fully employed through this as well. So just if you're looking for something that's really exciting in a ever-growing field, digital marketing is a great opportunity. So what exactly is digital marketing, right? If it's everywhere, the reality is it's nowhere, right? You know nothing about digital marketing, Jon Snow. Okay, any Game of Thrones fans out there? Look, the reality is what I just showed you in those two slides are called a meme. And a meme is something a digital marketer can use to engage you as the audience to click through on a link that takes to tell more about their product or service. So I'm going to reinforce this a couple of times during our calls today. Please do, if I talk too fast or you have questions, please chime in. I can see the chat bot or the chat box rather. So when you comment, I can see that and respond. But again, digital marketing is all about how to help people grow their business online. Now, this may not make much sense to you if you don't know what SEO is or how relevant the Yellow Pages is, but I want to use this as a talking point to just kind of put in perspective what this includes, and I'm going to kind of walk you through how I got into this field and what training you need. So don't worry too much about the specific words and acronyms. I know that's not what this is about today. But first of all, I want you to just emphasize the look on his face. He looks stern. He looks confused, slightly deer in headlights, and yet he looks confident that he knows what he wants. And that's a lot of my clients. So they are stern and confident in what they want, but they're also a little afraid because they know enough, but they don't know what they need to know. And that's why they're hiring somebody like me to help them be successful online. So essentially what he's saying is, I don't need your help to get Google to recommend me. I'm already in this book that has been completely irrelevant. Just a show of hands here. I don't know if you could actually show your hands. I guess we're not in the webinar feature, but drop it in the chat if you can. Do you remember the Yellow Pages? Does anybody on the call remember the Yellow Pages? I got a thumbs up. Daryl says yes. Raquel says yes. I like your emojis. The Yellow Pages was this book that was like the end all be all for a business who wanted to grow their business. You put a little ad, a photo of your logo and what your business does in the Yellow Pages, and the bigger means the more customers. Well, that's just an example of how digital marketing is always changing. Like the Yellow Pages, which is this thing from the past and is not relevant now, so much that's relevant now is changing and is not going to be relevant in the future. So that's what makes digital marketing so very, very exciting. So I am a published author, digital marketing consultant, public speaker, former college professor, and entrepreneur. My focus through all of this is how to help businesses grow their business online, right? How to tell your story effectively and get people to pay attention to you and click on your stuff, so then you can use that to grow your business and hopefully all the people I work with, and help you help more people, right? We're not doing something that's going to harm you by having you click on their information. Instead, your life should be better because you clicked on their information and now they're providing you some great service. So again, today is all about digital marketing and how I got into that field and why I chose it. I kind of broke this down in terms of lifespan here. 0 to 18 years old, I was the first in my family to graduate high school. I was told I was going to be somebody's baby's mama in the hood, and I was going to be on welfare like my family. But at the same time, I also had really funny, I always would say, first of all, I'm funny, and I would try to tell jokes and be funny and silly growing up. And that kind of evolved into me being witty, meaning I can come up with a slogan, or you might as well call that, and I'd have a punch phrase, right? Something that's funny and catchy, people remember. And people would say to me, well, you should really get into marketing. And it's funny because while I did always enjoy making flyers and designing events and coming up with little catchy phrases, I was always the top person for sports, for fundraising, for selling stuff. I never even knew what it meant to be in marketing. I didn't have this chance like you do today to learn about this career field. So what I did was I actually went to college. Again, I was first in my family to graduate high school. I went on to college. And like most people would hope, you graduate high school, graduate college, and you need a job, right, to pay for your student loans. And so I graduated, and I was very fortunate to say that I worked at the grocery store. But so I was also working part-time in the financial aid office where they help you get money to go to school. And they said they would actually pay for my education if I went and worked full-time. So I worked full-time in financial aid and admissions for 10 years. And again, it was really this opportunity to design events. I learned how to use computers. And I'm not necessarily the fastest typer where everything is spelled correctly, but I could type pretty fast, right? So it's really about getting you comfortable with computers, right? So that's what that job really was, in helping me learn how to listen to people. Through that, I got my first marketing sales job when I was about 27 years old. Then I ended up starting my own social media firm. I worked at that company where I sold an advertisement for a luxury magazine. And then I ended up going on to start my own social media firm, where I did that for about 6 years. And I learned even more organization skills, more than you can even imagine. When you run your own business, you have to kind of keep all the plates in the air and hope nothing crashes down and hold it all together. So I learned a lot being an entrepreneur. And I got social media certified. So I want to pause on that. So if you're somebody on the call, I had 2 job shadows come down to the Victoria Advocate and learn about this. And I asked them the question that I've seen posted in group chats and group rooms like Facebook groups. And the question was, would you hire somebody who was social media certified, or would you hire somebody with a master's in business administration? Now, master's in business administration means you have 6 years of schooling, or 5 if you did it really, really fast. But that's a lot of school and a lot of money you spent on that. A social media certification, on the other hand, takes you about 25 or 30 hours. I mean, realistically, you got to do a little more studying than that. So let's round up and say 50 hours. It can be a high stakes. You got to pay a couple $100 for it. And if you don't pass it, you got to pay a couple more $100. But compared to 60, 70, $80,000 in tuition, that is just drops in a bucket, right? So the question again, I'm going to pose to you is, would you rather, as an employer, hire somebody who has a social media certification or a master's in business administration? And time again, employers were saying they would hire somebody with a social media certification that takes you like 35 to 50 hours and costs you $200, $300, compared to somebody who's went to 6 years of schooling and paid anywhere from 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, $80,000 in school, depending on how much your school costs. So just really let that sink in. So I got social media certified and my MBA because I'm an overachiever. And then I was able to come out here to Texas to be closer to family and join the M. Roberts Digital team. Now, M. Roberts Media owns the Victoria Advocate and has about 20 different publications. They also have a digital marketing agency. So I work with the agency in partnership with the Victoria Advocate. So hopefully that makes sense. All right. So my question I want to kind of jump into is, before I get into what type of training do you need, I've already planted a seed that a certification will go a very long way. But before I jump into that, I want to ask you, are you a creative person? Are you organized or analytical or detail oriented, or do you create or draw or design or do custom graphics or do gaming? You might be a creative type that would be on what we call fulfillment side. That means you actually go through and build stuff to help businesses. So let's see, I have a chat question. Okay, Kathy says yes. Thank you, Kathy. So let me go ahead and show you here. Oops. All right. So this is an example of an ad that you would be able to create in fulfillment, right? So this is what you want somebody to do. You want them to call these people. These are their logos and their colors, the people, right? Something to say about them. Ideally, this gets you to click on it and engage with this brand, right? That's an example of something in fulfillment. Another thing in fulfillment would be if you made websites, right? So I just published a book here and I had M. Roberts Digital design the landing page. So they went through and picked out the colors. They made my book cover into a 3D cover. They picked out these fonts. They made these buttons so it clicks right into Amazon. They made it all connected. Again, this is me, look at me when I was a kid. Isn't that funny? Cracks me up. Okay. Down here, they put the text, see the animation that happens. So again, if you're in fulfillment, you can have a very nice career, creating web design or actually building ads of sorts. And realistically, you can hope to make 50 to 75K approximately in Victoria and basic metropolitan areas. If you are outspoken like me, or if you're good at fundraisers, that's how I knew I was good at sales, was for basketball, you have to sell cookies or whatever it is. I was always one of the top cookie salesmen. If you're one of those people, you can easily make $100,000 plus by going through on the sales side of marketing. So again, there's two different avenues in this field. One is fulfillment, where you do the work, but you don't have to talk to the clients. And the other is actual sales, where you design the campaigns and based on what you hear from the client is important to them, but you don't have to actually do the work. You just show it to the client and get feedback and send it back to your fulfillment team. They make the updates, they give it to you, you take it back to the client. So you work in partnership together, but there's a lot more opportunity to earn a higher income in sales. Also, for me, I may be a creative person. That's why I'm good at listening and designing stuff, but I am not the person to figure out and troubleshoot why your website went down. okay? I am not the person who is going to troubleshoot and find statistics on, you know, whether this picture should go on the left or on the right based on whatever. I just am not that person. So instead, I'd rather talk to people and listen, take notes, and then share that with my team. And then my team members are the ones who actually make it happen. So I hope that makes sense. If you are on the side where you would like to get into being in the sales and having the higher income, perhaps, then I would recommend to start in any type of sales role, right? So I'm going to run down these bullet points real fast here. For me, my first sales role was, you know, started in customer service. I worked at KFC and Arby's. I worked at Ross Dress for Less, you know. Those are sales roles where I have to ask, well, what would you like? Is there anything else you'd like with that? Whatever it is. Then my first sales role from there was I was able to go in and work in higher education and sell Red Bull, right? So whatever those sales roles are, just you do your best. And that demonstrates your commitment, right? You also, regardless if you're the creative side of fulfillment or the sales side, you need to be really invested in reading and learning about your industry. Again, like we talked about, the Yellow Pages was this book that people used to live by as the standard of getting your business name out there. Now, 2/3 of the people on the call don't remember it, right? So again, just keep that in perspective, that you don't want to become outdated. In this industry, you have to be cutting edge. So if you're thinking about either being on creative or on the sales side, you need to listen to podcasts and books on digital marketing and what's going on out there. Social Media Examiner is a really great one if you're interested in social media. That's a really, they send you a daily update, like a digest thing. So it helps you keep top of mind and what's going on. And Zig Ziglar is kind of old school, right? I guess my boss like actually went and saw him in person. I think that's cool, but I think he's passed away. I'm not sure, but Zig Ziglar's books are phenomenal. So I'm reading The Secrets to Closing a Sale. But the reality is, whatever profession you go into, you need to keep fresh. You need to sharpen your axe, right? If it takes you 6 hours to cut down a tree, you better make sure you're stopping in the middle to sharpen your axe so you can cut it down faster and you're not working harder than you have to, right? That's the keeping your mind sharp part. Also, write down any successes in a Google Doc. So just like, you know, I'm helping somebody transition out of their role and train the next person, I'm writing that down, right? And in 6 months or 8 months, when I have a review and my bosses want to evaluate how well I'm doing, I'm going to bring up the fact that I did these things. So just kind of keep that in the Google document and get on your resume. Get written letters of recommendation. If you quit a job because you got a better job and they're sad to see you go, get them to write that down, right? Ask them for a letter of recommendation. This goes for any job really outside of digital marketing, but especially in digital marketing and sales, you want to have a portfolio, you want to have recommendations. Consider getting certified in your chosen field. DM is digital marketing, SM is social media or Google. Those are the key areas that you would need to be certified. Again, that can get you out of 6 years of schooling. Now, they still would like to have a 4-year degree, but you don't need to go on to get 1 master's degree or 2, like I did, when 30 hours of schooling is really what they're looking for. It cracks me up. Okay, and then you want to get an internship in marketing and create what I call a portfolio. So just whether it's online on a web page or in a binder you share in person, if you've created ads or if you've created flyers or you've done something creative, you've even drawn in your free time, just have something to show your work if that's something you're interested in. But this is really what I engage with on a regular basis. Yeah, if you could make us #1 or on Google over the weekend, that'd be great. And the reality is this is impossible to make you #1 on Google. And when I say #1 on Google, let me just kind of show you what I'm talking about here. So let's say, let's go here and just put Victoria School, oh no, Victoria haircut. Everybody wants a haircut now, right? With the COVID. So let's say Victoria haircut. So this is #1 on Google. This is showing that Google recommends Supercuts in the man cave. And then down here, you can see Supercuts and Yelp. But the idea is that there is one place you want to be, and that's on the front page of Google. There's a really bad joke. Bear with me. I apologize. I do not mean for it to be offensive, but where do you hide a dead body? The answer, second page of Google, because nobody ever clicks there, right? I know it's a bad joke. I'm sorry. I got to find a better one. But right here, if you click, how many times have you clicked number 2? Maybe never, right? If you're not on the first page, you don't exist. So again, that's what this is about, is when I talk with clients, they want to be able to get seen online. They want Google to put them on that first page, and they want it to happen overnight, and that's not realistic. So there's several tools in your toolbox to help people get seen online. One is help them use storytelling branding. Figure out who's their ideal audience, right? I spend a lot of time talking to people, a lot of time listening to them, and asking them what's important. What would be a big win for your company? What's the next level for your company? And they're like, well, we do haircuts, but we want to do pedicures. Okay, great. What is your path to being able to do that? Why is that important to you? And as I get them talking about that, I write down the words they're saying, and that later on goes onto a website like I showed you, or it goes into a Facebook post, or it goes onto an ad that shows up online. But I listen to them first, and I ask questions, and I write it down. Then I tell my team in fulfillment, they create really pretty things that shows the client really well, and then I take that and put it on the internet and help them get leads and build their business, right? So again, this is just the idea here is I can help them tell their story. I can help them design a website. I can help them put ads online, or I can help them with Facebook or using video. Those are the main things I'm talking to businesses about on a regular basis. So if your question, as we talk about it right now, maybe your main thought is like, wow, that's really scary to talk to people I don't know. If that is your initial reaction, or I wouldn't even know where to begin, I would never want to talk to somebody about where they want to take their business, then you might want to be on the creative side. Or if you're reading, listening to this and you're like, designing ads, that sounds really overwhelming. How do you even start with that? I don't know if I could figure that out. And maybe you'd be on the sales side, right? So again, there's two sides to digital marketing. And this is often the problem, right? The client wants something subtle yet loud. Can anybody think of one thing that is subtle yet loud? The only thing I can think of is a symphony. It's subtle, yet very loud if you're at the symphony, right? The reality is you're either subtle or loud, but clients tend to be a cliche where they say, I want something fast yet slow. I want to get this, which is impossible, but overnight, So again, a lot of me listening to the clients is actually listening to what they want and what they need, and helping translate that. I feel like a translator a lot, where I listen to what they want in their business, and then I help them translate that to what's possible. So again, what type of training is required? Again, I keep emphasizing, do you want to be on fulfillment or do you want to be on sales? They're very two different worlds. With sales, again, I have freedom to work from home. I make my own schedule, so to speak. I'm out driving my car, usually when it's not COVID. I go to client appointments. So it's fun. You go to parties, you go to events, you go to networking. You become the expert, right? And whereas fulfillment, it's more of an office job. You're at the office from 9 to 5. You take your lunch. You focus. You need quiet time. So just again, to try to delineate those two. For me, the training that's required, I really tried to think about this, and I was like, what did I learn in school that helps me right now? I even asked my husband. I said, honey, what did I learn in school that helps me right now? And this is what we came up with. First of all, even before anything in school, you have to learn how to hear versus listen, right? Hearing means I, in my eardrum, can hear what you hear me. You hear words coming out of my mouth right now. But if you are waiting to speak, you're not listening. When you are in class and you raise your hand, your brain actually stops thinking. Have you ever had that happen where you're like, oh, I got a question. And then the teacher calls on you and all you can think of is your question, but what they said in the last 30 seconds or 60 seconds since they called on you and you raised your hand, you can't even tell them what they said. The reality is with a lot of people, this goes in life outside of sales, but a lot of times you ask a question and then you want to just respond with how that affects you. Oh yeah, I also have a dog. Oh yeah, I let my dog, and you just keep talking about your dog. It's like, no, you're talking to them about their dog grooming business. Ask them about them, right? So it's a difference. And so it's not waiting to speak, but truly listening to what somebody says. That is the core of what I do. And then follow up and have organization skills, like actually do what you say. I'm going to send you that email, send it, right? And then here it says commitment to staying on top of your new marketing trends and always do your best. Again, I've always been an overachiever, coming from welfare, the foster care system. You know, I have had to pull myself up by my bootstraps, if that's even possible, to get to where I am today and sit here in front of you. And that's because I was always committed to doing my best. And so I just, no matter what career you choose, give it your all and do your best, and then go home and rest and wake up again and do it again. Okay, nothing carries over. So the next day you got to still do it your best. It's not like you did 3 days your best, now Thursday you don't have to. Every day give it your best, and especially in sales, that's the truth. And stay on top, again, like we talked about, for new marketing trends. So I do have a little bit more of kind of a little bit of talking about how math comes in. There's not much math, but I have a little bit more to build on that. But real quick, I wanted to give you an example of why you don't need a lot of schooling to do what I do. This is a typical day for me. I wake up, I have my coffee, I go for a walk. I come back, I decide the top 3 things I'm going to do today, or top 3 people I'm going to call, or whatever it is. And then I set what I call a 0 calendar. Now, let me go ahead and show you my calendar. Oops. Now, this is an example of a 0 calendar. So down to every 15 minutes, things are accounted for. And it tells me exactly where to log in for stuff, what to do, et cetera, et cetera. So the reality is, I know what I'm doing every single 15 minutes of my day. It is driving my success. I decide in the morning what's the best use of my time, my highest good. I put it on the calendar, and then I follow it like it's law. And then I check my email. And then I talk to some existing clients, people who already do business with me. And then I move some of their projects forward by emailing fulfillment and such. Then I check my email again. Then I call some new people. Maybe I attend a webinar. I check my email again. I decide my top 3 deliverables for the next day. And then I go on another walk. It's not a bad life, folks. I love my life, and I get to do it from home, and COVID has not affected it. So I feel blessed to say that this is what I do. Now, there is some actual skills you need, right? And so this is where my husband helped me really research, like, what exactly am I doing here? Time management skills, right? So when you learn to go to school, you have to learn how to be able to manage your time. You also need to know how to research stuff, whether it's clients, you know, where are they on the internet, just basic research and writing notes. A little reading and writing. You don't have to spell well. Trust me, I don't. I have 2 master's degrees and I type like I'm illiterate. Whatever, it doesn't matter. And then a little light math, just like literally dividing stuff, multiplying. It's not fancy, but that determines pricing. You create proposals, determine discounts, and most importantly, how much you get paid based on how much you sell. And then have the ability to form a relationship, be memorable. If you can learn something about color theory, that will help you either on sales or fulfillment, and then possibly have some graphic design skills. For me, I use a system called Canva. So that is pretty much it. Based on a show of hands, how many people feel, based on this list, that they would qualify for a digital marketing job? Anybody? All right, I got 1 there. Thank you so much. I'll take 25%, 20%. That's good. Look, I did basic math there. I like it. Thank you for your participation. I appreciate you. So again, you can do it. I'm happy to help point you in the right direction. I know we did some job shadowing before COVID. Hopefully this presentation showed you a little bit about what I do and kind of what digital marketing is and how much it's always changing. I am checking the chat, looking for any questions here. How may I further assist you? I guess just let me know if you have any follow-up questions about this rewarding career of getting into digital marketing. And with that, I thank you all for your time.
Do we have any questions for Crystal at this time?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. When you were in school, because I deal with middle schoolers,
Mm-hmm.
when you were in school, possibly middle school, high school, what characteristics did teachers think were sort of negative about you that actually turned out to be a strength later on? I mean, because that's what I tell my kids all the time. You're talkative, but that's not bad. You just need to control it at the right time. What kind of things would you say became your strengths or was actually your strength?
So I actually have kind of a really example that is kind of funny and revealing at the same time. But one is I had an English teacher hold me after class and she asked me how I did it. And I said, what do you mean, what do I do, how I did it? And she said, you write, you speak with slang, but you write without it. How do you do it? And I guess I had a slang because I grew up in a poor neighborhood. And so I spoke like everybody around me, but I could write. But for her, she thought that was a disadvantage. Like I should be able to speak proper English. And I wasn't, I guess, speaking proper English. But what that later became my strength is that I'm able to mirror the people around me. Right. And so that is something that to this day, I could talk to the janitor or the president, it doesn't bother me. I can talk to somebody. And that was something she thought was a disadvantage and she was trying to fix out of me, which I didn't need fixing. So that's one example, but yeah, and then being really talkative. The other thing is being told I need to have a filter. I had one person and mentor and friend tell me I need to dim my light. That I was a little too talkative and outgoing, and really that's the key to good sales. That's how I'm a top salesperson. That's what I do is I shine brightly and I talk a lot and I reveal who I am and I build trust and connection. But those were all things that people saw as a negative at one point that ended up being my greatest gift.
So did you feel like rejected when you was a kid because of those kind of comments, or did you just rise above them?
Well, I had good training from my mother, who was a horrible person, to be completely honest. And so she, at one point, just put in perspective, refused to sign my reading log so I could get an F and know what it felt like, even though she knew I read 3 times as many books as was required. So just put that in perspective. I was very used to people telling me I wasn't going to be anything with my life, that I wasn't special, that I wasn't important. Who do I think I am? Those type of comments. And so I just laughed at people. I just thought they were funny. I somehow intrinsically, I knew within me that my family and my surroundings were not normal and that I was perfectly normal. And so I don't know how I got to that realization. But yeah, I didn't take them too seriously. I just kind of laughed them off and thought it was interesting. But I will say I was 6 foot when I was 12 years old. I had a speech impediment. My name was Quitawawi from Potwinogan, and I walked pigeon-toed and had gappy teeth. So I'm painting a picture that was not pretty. I was a hot mess growing up. I was very used to being ridiculed, so I didn't take it too seriously, and I think that's part of why I'm good at sales.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Great question, Dale. Thank you. other questions?
Thank you so much, Crystal. We appreciate your time. With no one else having any other questions, we're going to end the call. If you do come across any questions or concerns, please feel free to email me and we can forward those along to Crystal. Once again, thank you all for joining us. Thank you for your time. You all have a good afternoon.
Thank you.